When you're sick, every minute counts. So don't go anywhere. Go to dispatchhealth.com where high-quality medical care comes directly to you. No getting out of a sick bed. No crazy driving to an emergency room. No endless paperwork. No hospital waiting rooms. Visit dispatchhealth.com to learn about our medical professionals, then make house calls. Dispatch Health is covered by Medicare and most major insurance. Go to dispatchhealth.com.
You are listening to New Theory Radio. Theory Radio.
Hello and welcome to another edition of New Theory Radio, here live on News Talk, Saga 960 AM. My name is Nav Nanwa and I am your host, and this is the show where we theorize on arts and pop culture. February is Black History Month, a time where we recognize the contributions of Black Canadians within our community. And we are excited this week to have two amazing local artists on the show today to reflect on this time, especially coming out of the conversations we've been having lately around racial injustice and equality. My first guest is a Canadian songwriter who makes music that speaks of truth, love, and self-growth. She was raised by the sounds of gospel via the church. She has emerged onto Toronto's R&B scene by collaborating with various producers and artists, building a loyal community of fans around her music. And she's influenced by the likes of some of my favorites, including Jill Scott and Erykah Badu. It's Brampton's own Nicole Chambers. Nicole, how are you?
Hey, I'm good. Thank you for having me on the show.
Yeah. Very grateful for you to be joining us. And our second guest is actually a multidisciplinary musician based in Toronto. She is a singer, songwriter, producer, rapper, and spoken word artist. Her creative creations mostly shed light on the difficulties and traumas within our society, realities which are often ignored but are brought to light by her musical compositions. It's Tracey Kayy. Tracey, what's up?
Hey, I'm good. How are you?
Good. So thank you both for joining me. And again, it's funny, we just had a pre-conversation and we found out that Tracey went to high school in Brampton, and Nicole, your was it your great grandmother was like one of the first Black people or Black families to live in Brampton.
Yeah.
So a lot of history here. I love it.
Yeah. The roots run deep.
We love that. We love that here on NTR. And, I want to start right from the get-go. It is Black History Month, just like how I mentioned off the top. And yeah, a lot has happened within the last 12 months or within the last year. And I wanted to just check in on the both of you and really get an understanding on what this month means to you. Maybe Tracey, we'll begin with you.
Okay, thank you. Well, Black history means a lot of things to me personally. I feel like there's many meanings in like stories, traditions, and cultures. And basically, when I think of Black history, I kind of think of its like origin and complexities in regards to identity and how Black creatives and inventors and kings and queens and community leaders have basically shaped this entire kind of nation and this entire globe, essentially. So I guess when I think of Black history, I just think of everything combined. I think of excellence. I think of thriving. I think of just continuing to go against the odds, but always coming out on top.
Yeah, I like that. Nicole, what about you?
Yeah, just to piggyback off of Tracey, because she pretty much covered it. But for me as well, it's a great time of just like, just reflection and just honoring the ones that have come before us and have just really paved the way for, the younger generations to just have a life, because we weren't even allowed to have that, and even for me, I, especially like being a musician and hearing songs from like Ella Fitzgerald or even just Billie Holiday or, Ma Rainey, just talking about all like the pain and hardship that they had to go through. You can just hear it and just feel it within their music. And I think during Black History Month, I'm just super grateful the most, because I'm just like, without you guys, there would be no R&B, there would be no jazz, there would be basically no me. And that's just where I draw strength from.
Yeah, no, that's beautiful. That's really beautiful. And exactly like how I mentioned off the top, it's been a very tumultuous year, not just with the pandemic, but with the racial injustice movement that we've been seeing over the last few months, and this conversation really coming to the forefront in more so than in recent years. And I think a lot of that can be attributed to the pandemic and the fact that we are all kind of stuck in our homes and have this connection to screens and technology and media, where we're able to learn more and able to get involved. And I'm curious, with everything that's gone on over the last year, are you reflecting on this month any differently? And maybe Nicole, we'll start with you.
Yeah, definitely. I feel like, if anything, I feel like I've learned the importance of giving back. It's something that I need to practice more of, again, just to really make sure I'm keeping myself in check with my own community, because we went through a lot together, but we also last year, and obviously, many other times, but especially last year. And I feel like there was like a rise, and we all really came together, and it's just been really, really beautiful. But if anything, for me, like as an artist, I need to make sure that I'm holding myself accountable, and then I'm, again, doing my Googles and just making sure that I'm giving back to the community. So that's something that I'm personally trying to work on. I hope that makes sense.
Yeah, no, exactly. Yeah. Tracey, what about you?
I'm sorry, could you just please repeat the question again?
Yeah, just with everything that's happened over the last year, especially with the racial injustice movement, how are you possibly reflecting on Black History Month differently this year?
I think for me personally, it's not necessarily that I'm reflecting on it differently. I think there's always that constant kind of like self-reflection and like, okay, what can I do differently this year to kind of like help myself, but also, like Nicole was saying, help those around me. Right. But I think also, like, yeah, essentially that's it. Just continuing to not only self-improve, but how can I improve those around me? How can I help those around me, help my community and things like that? So just finding new ways to kind of like collectively work together, and whether it's through programming or through music or through education and self-education and edifying yourself, so that you can essentially basically pour back into others. From the previous years, I think for me, because this was something that I was also studying in school, it's always been on the forefront.
Yeah.
But I'm glad to see a shift. You know what I mean? Like, because of COVID, a lot of people have been home since last year, and we've been more attentive to our devices and things like that. So I'm glad to see that a lot of people are paying attention, and it's just basically utilizing that momentum so that we can actually make change. You know what I mean? Because it's one thing to just kind of like sit down and reflect, which is still really good. But then after, it's another thing to actually mobilize. So I think for me, it's just every year. It's not even every year. Yeah, every year, all year round, it's like constantly thinking about this. But then during Black History Month, of course, we find ourselves. I feel like we have a bigger platform, because I feel like different organizations and businesses are always reaching out for Black creatives, Black speakers to come to their platform and kind of just basically educate, or, just include them into their celebration. And I feel like we as Black creatives, or just educators, and whatever it is that we are in our communities, I think it's important for us to just, educate and just do that, like play our role and, just help make change, essentially.
Yeah.
Have you had people within your network reach out to you just to learn a bit more about Black history, considering the work that you do and what you've studied?
Yeah. So in regards to like workshops, a lot of times especially during February, I find that more organizations will be like, hey, do you want to do a workshop? Can you speak? Can you do this during the month of February?
Yeah.
And then it usually dies down after. So it's, for me, it's funny, but it's just like, for me, it's just like, okay, like this, because there's ongoing problems and because things are not the way they should be, it's like, okay, how do I still incorporate this in my daily lifestyle and activities, just so that I know that I'm always giving back and always educating and self-edifying, but also edifying others, because it's not limited to just this month. You know what I mean? It's all year round.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah,
Amen.
exactly.
I
Nicole,
felt that. Yeah.
Nicole, I feel like you want to chime in a little bit.
No, I just want to give Tracey her praise because she's absolutely right. This is why I'm like, I need to hold myself accountable and just, step up and do better. I believe, you should do that every year, right? Just step up and be better than the last. But I feel like it's essential more than ever right now that we come together as a community and just, step up.
Yeah.
So thank you, Tracey.
Thank you guys too.
Nicole, what's been keeping you going over the last year, considering everything that's been going on?
Wow, good question. Good question. Honestly, you know what, even though I had to be home so much with my family this year, I think more than we all expected, it's just them. Like, some days when they, like, I guess would go out and I would be home alone, I'd be like, wow, this is nice. But also, like, I'm so grateful to just have people in my house because some people have been alone this entire time.
Yeah.
And, like, I'm okay with that because I also like to be left alone sometimes. But, like, I don't know if I could do it for, like, going into like 2020 to all the way into where we are now, like 2021. Like that's a lot. But, just my family has been helping me keep going. Don't tell them that, but yes. And mostly my girlfriends, just having those Zoom chats, man, just like scheduling them in, like, yo, you got time on Saturday afternoon? Awesome. Like, let's just, FaceTime real quick. So, and then just music. Like I've been listening to, again, like a lot of Marvin Gaye. Like I don't know what it is, but just like all year round, I've just been listening to Marvin Gaye and the
Which
Eyes
records?
Oh my God, why am I blanking right now? It's the I Want You album.
Oh, okay.
And oh my God, that other one that has crap. I forget right now what they're called. But basically Marvin, that one for sure. That one has been on repeat for sure. But yeah, that's been keeping me going.
Marvin is so relevant in every context. I find that I always go back to what's going on and just
yes,
that
thank you. That record. I was like, why do you not know this?
It's fine.
Come on.
Hey, this wasn't a question that I prepped you on, right? So it's all good.
Right? Yeah. Super relevant anytime. Yeah.
For sure. Tracey, what about you? What's been keeping you going?
Honestly, a lot. I think it's many things in one. Like, number one, my faith in God, just keeping me kind of like in check and in line, because even when I'm worried, I'm like, okay, just continue to have faith, because it's only faith that I'm really pulling through. Just knowing that things will get better, and also working towards things getting better as well. Things that have been pulling me through too is my family, like Nicole said, and it's been weird because I'm an introvert and I
preach.
Yes, I need
really the both of you.
Yeah,
honey, yes, like no.
I need to recharge. It's not that I don't like speaking to people, but it's just that when I do, I need to recharge in my alone time. I need to have my alone time to be by myself. But because people are home 24/7, sometimes I'm like, oh my gosh,
girl.
Where do I go? But
yes, Tracey, I feel so seen right now. I feel so seen.
Is it the people at home? Like, is it the people, or is it the people, like just you seeing people all the time?
Oh yeah, it's just me seeing people all the time. Then like being online, and then because there's so many Zoom meetings and Zoom conferences, and it's just like I just need to recharge, because on it, like, usually like sometimes there's people who are not home, or sometimes you just get your space to yourself. Like I'll go to the library to work sometimes, you know what I mean, and things like that. I can't even do that. And at one point, I love hiking. I couldn't even hike because sometime last year, I think around March, April, they shut down all of the provincial parks, and I was like,
oh no,
people who don't even hike are outside, and now I can't go outside.
Oh God.
So I was losing it, to the point where my friend and I, her name is Angie, and we basically drove 4 hours away just to go to like Tobermory area because we wanted to just be away from people. We wanted to hike. We didn't want no one there. And we forgot that the provincial parks were closed even 4 hours away. So we basically went there for nothing. But Yeah, we
I'm
ended
sure it
up
was a fun drive.
It honestly was so beautiful. And we got to meet like local townspeople, and it was honestly a great experience. And like, I want to go back, So like being outside recharges me, the sun recharges me, music recharges me. And then,
Yep.
cooking. One thing that I was doing was learning new recipes. I was baking like every day, baking bread from
Girl,
scratch.
every day. Holy, no one is allowed to see me. Nobody in the streets.
Oh
So,
man, you
yeah,
guys
that's
make me
pretty much
hungry.
it. I know.
um, what was that creative process like? Because both of you have just come up with some new music. Nicole, you got the Voice of a Virgo project that's been out, and Tracey Kayy, you got a fire track out called "Hope You Relate" with some fantastic artists. But considering everything that's happened, considering the state that we're all in, considering just this need to distract yourself, what was that creative process like for the both of you? And maybe Nicole, we'll start with you.
It was challenging in the best way. I've been reflecting a lot about my album in the new year, I guess last 2 months, and I've just been finding so much gratitude in it. I'm like, wow, you really pulled that off in a Panasonic, girl. You really pulled that off. And, because I thought I had more time, to work on it, but I had the time I had because of the COVID. So, but it was just such a blissful experience because I just remember all the days I was frustrated and I was crying and I was over it. And I was like, being an independent artist is the worst. But, I got through it, and there were so many moments of just like reflection and the connections between the songs, and just it was just like all the work I had done over those last 3 years of just writing and writing. It just all came together to form this beautiful project of just like, again, self-reflection, love, and just self-love. And it was everything I wanted and more. Yeah.
Amazing.
Wow,
Amazing.
that's beautiful.
Thanks.
Tracey,
Yeah.
you were the track "Hope You Relate," and I want you to talk more about it in just a few minutes, but just explain to me what your creative process was like during this time.
I think Nicole said it best. Like, I even have to quote her, challenging in the best way. When I think of what I wanted to do in 2019 in preparation for 2020, it's like totally different. For me, I was mostly a live performer, and I would perform my originals live. So I didn't really care to record unless it was.
Don't you love that? Yes. Oh.
But then COVID hit, and I'm like, okay, we gotta go back to the drawing board because I have all these songs, but I'm not performing as much as I was before. So it was challenging for me because now I'm like, okay, I have to change things up. Instead of doing an event this year or last year, sorry, I had to think of doing a music video. And then I was fortunate enough to like have the opportunity to do not only my music video for my single, but then also with Hope You Relate, which is a beautiful track. Honestly, it just talks about life and what it means to you and just elevating, you know what I mean? And there was so many beautiful people on that track. The AGYU helped us out with it. Like, it's such a beautiful, positive, light track. Like, it was really good working with those people during those times as well, because sometimes you don't realize, after being like inside for so long, you don't realize how much you can miss human contact, even as an introvert. Like, I went up there, I was happy. I was like, hi.
Right? Do whatever, whenever. Sky can never be the limit, it's a limitation. So I reach for the stars, I reach for the moon. I travel beyond galaxies, went further than my eyes can see. Fighting for what belongs to me, fighting for my destiny. Building a whole legacy, I dare you to dream. Dare you to be free, dare you to chase your own victory. And grasp onto it, never let it go, just grasp onto it. Don't let nobody tell you no, just grasp onto it. Cause you know who you are. You know who you are. Don't let nobody tell you otherwise. Cause you decide.
You are listening to
So, woo,
is this
okay.
are we expecting a long story now? Is this,
I don't think so. It was just honestly, I think I just kind of just channeled it. I think God was just like, okay, girl, this is what we're doing. And I was like, you sure? He's like, yep. And I was like, okay. So I just kind of ran with it. And just like everything was just like connected to my spirit for sure. I didn't really have much to say. I'm gonna be honest with you. You know, they were just like, you need to get this project out to the girls. Don't delay. This is the message. You know, even from the first song, like Calling Me Out, that's my intro song. It's basically me being like, hey girl, if you could fix up so we could level up, that would be great, because we don't know what you've been doing, but we're actually tired of it. You had 3 years to do it. You had 3 years to writing and get out of your system. So if you could do that, that would be great. And then even the song Voice of Virgo was just basically, again, me calling myself out and be like, you're not listening to me. Like, I wasn't listening to, you know, my spirit. I wasn't connected to anything. I was just trying to, I guess, you know, I think I just, sometimes being a Virgo, you're very just like, I can do battle by myself, basically. And you just don't need help. You don't really like need anyone. You're very like, this is how it has to be, this is how it has to be. But sometimes you have to just learn to just flow with life. You can't always be in control of everything. And that was the problem for me. Like, I wasn't listening to my spirit. I wasn't like, you know, what do you need me to do to get to where I need to go? Because I know we all want to level up and grow, right? But I was just very resistant to change because I'm stubborn. So that song was really powerful for me. But the experience was very, very great. I got to work with some of like my OG college friends, which was great. You know, like I always wanted that. I got to work with Tamari, or I guess Truss, who helped me produce tracks like Warm Body, and I'm Fine, which was great because, like, you know, we both grew up in Brampton and we've known each other since we were like 7. Like, we went to the YMCA together. Like, we, you know, yeah, like the connections run deep. And I love our connection the most because of all the times when we were younger that we run into each other. Like, I still remember, you know, us just like showing up at Fletcher's Creek, like the middle school, and me looking across the gym and being like, T? Oh, you're here again. Okay, cool. And then we split up, went to different schools again. Then we met back at Fletcher's and I'm like, T, you're here again. Wow. You know, so that was really exciting for me. And we always joke and talk about that all the time. But yeah, I hope that answers your question. I'm trying not to make it too long.
It does. And trivia note, I went to Fletcher's Creek for middle school. So
wow.
I always love hearing about Malta Avenue. Good old Malta.
What a time. Oh, God.
Shout out to City South Pizza. I remember when it just opened. But, you know, like as okay, so with Nicole, with your project, Voice of a Virgo, and Tracey with your bars on Hope You Relate, to me, being such a fan of both hip hop and R&B, right now just feels like such an awesome moment for female R&B artists and female MCs. Like, I think about from a female MC standpoint, obviously you got what, you know, Meg and Cardi have been doing, but then you also have like Rhapsody. You also have others that are bringing lyricism to the forefront, which is very inspiring. And on the R&B side, you know, we've been seeing such a run of fantastic albums just rolling out with what SZA's been able to do, with what Ari Lennox has been able to do. I've been loving the Jasmine Sullivan album.
Who hasn't?
It's
Who
fantastic.
hasn't? Listen, that is my heavy rotation. Rotation.
Yeah, and it just flows so nicely. Like, I just leave it on and I don't even skip a track. Like, you just even the stories in between are so captivating.
Yeah.
Like, it's a fantastic album.
Killed it. Yeah.
One of the best of the year for sure. Well, what's your thoughts on this moment? And maybe Tracey, we'll begin with you from a female MC standpoint. Do you feel right now we're kind of getting into another golden era?
Yeah, I have hope that we are, because I feel like, especially back in the day, I felt like usually only one rap female artist could be on top for whatever reason. And now we have so many amazing female rappers coming out, and they're doing a great job. You know what I mean? In regards to representing. And I don't know. Yeah, I'm very hopeful for our future, to be honest, because like I said before, there was only one rapper, and now, like, I don't know why. It always seemed like for some reason society would only support one female rapper, but there could be many male rappers, you know what I mean? But now like, there's a shift, you know, where there's many great female rappers that are coming up who are getting the shine that they deserve. So I'm definitely excited for the future of hip hop and R&B.
Nicole, R&B right now is on fire. Do you think this is becoming a golden era?
Yes, and I'm so thankful. Honestly, I'm so thankful. Like when Jasmine Sullivan dropped that project, I said, "My God, you are choosing favorites out here, and I see you, and that's okay because we are all special." But I'm just saying, would love to be a Jasmine Sullivan in another life. Cool. No, no, I'm just kidding. Sort of. No, I'm I'm even again going back to her project, like. I feel like with R&B, again, having those beautiful like melodies and harmonies and just like just all those runs, and I love that that's coming back, you know, because I feel like for a while it got a bit condensed, and it was just kind of like, okay, well, like just sing like a specific way and like be a specific way to get like the hype, and I'm like, no. That's kind of hard for me because I grew up listening to like Mary Mary and like Kirk Franklin and the Choir and like Fred Hammond, all these other like, you know, amazing Christian artists, and that's all they do is run. Like I don't know how to turn that off, you know. So when Jasmine Sullivan came through with that project and she just ran for days, I was super grateful. I was like, thank you, sis, for just bringing this back because we need that, you know. Even Lucky Day, he released a project and it was dope, and he has a song with Yeba, and she's like another one of my like favorite artists because she's just phenomenal, like vocally. So I'm very excited about the rise of like R&B this year. I'm really excited to see some other projects that people will be putting out, and you know, I just really hope that it just continues. But I also hope even having things like a live band. Because I love that. I love live off the floor stuff, you know? It's like one of my favorites because it just feels, it doesn't feel authentic. It is authentic, you know? Like when you have that bass line going, when you have those beautiful, like just keys that fall in line with the guitar line, it's like poetic, you know? Like, so I'm really excited to just get back out there and actually start working like with the crew, you know, and just meeting other people as well. I hope that helps.
No, it does, and we all miss live music for sure. So I can't wait to see both of you live when the time is right, and that's gonna lead to my last question for the both of you is what's your hope for the future? And maybe Tracey, will begin with you.
Who child?
Like these questions. Oh my God.
I like to keep it open ended. So you know, tell me whatever comes to mind.
Money. I'm joking.
Yeah, girl. Listen.
But probably like let's go more so in the context of everything that's currently going on.
I know I'm joking.
It's okay. It's all good.
Honestly, in regards to music, I feel like everybody has their niche, they have their audience. And I just want to master the craft of reaching out to my audience, my niche, and I just want to make good music, to be honest. And I just want to be heard, you know, I want to perform more. Like COVID's confusing me. But like, I want to perform more. But one thing that I learned because of COVID was that I do need to figure out and establish my online presence and be more strict with that, because, you know, this is the only way we can reach people right now. You know what I mean? So it's like, I guess mastering not only my stage presence and just performing and things like that, but also mastering my online presence. And I think Nicole was mentioning it earlier, being an independent artist is hard. Finding a team is hard. Trusting people is hard. So one thing for me is like, I'm putting it out there. I'm going to have an amazing team in the near future. Like I already have some of my team members now, but like, I'm going to have an amazing team and we're going to travel the world. and we're going to educate, and we're going to have fun, and we're going to enlighten, and we're going to grow, and
love it.
Just go sprinkle happiness all over.
Love it. Oh, yes, Tracey. Let's just wrap up the show. I think she spoke for both of us. Like, okay, let's go.
In regards to the Black History basically in regards to like Black history and just Blackness in general, my hopes for the future, which is really difficult because humans are humans, it's just, I just want everybody to be together, to be one. You know what I mean? Despite like obviously recognizing our differences, but celebrating it and not fearing it and not being afraid of it. You know what I mean? But embracing it. So I guess that's what I want for the near future.
Nicole, what about you?
Again, Tracey's killing it. Like, she said all the things. So, like, thank you for saying that. And again, just to piggyback off of you, I agree. In terms of like, you know, being Black and like what that will be for the future, like for the whole community. I would really love to see like other communities just really just step up, and so that we could just all get along. But I will say the Indigenous community really, really does that. So shout out to them for a minute, because they just be out here, you know, supporting us in these streets. Yeah. And it's very clear and it's very evident. And I'm very grateful for that, because I know that they were here first and they have gone through, you know, a lot of things before we even got here. So very grateful for them. In terms of everything else, just I guess for my life, again, like I've really been trying to work on my manifestation skills this year. I'm right there with Tracey. Like, I would love to expand my team. I'm so grateful for the team I have. And I tell them probably like every other day, thank you guys for just putting up with me. I'm super grateful, because it's hard being an independent artist. And even touching on being an independent artist, like I would just love one day if, you know, more things like distribution deals were available to local artists, you know what I mean? So that we wouldn't have to give up precious things like our masters. Yeah. You know, it's like you work so hard on a song. I think this has been a topic for a lot of people. I hope I'm not butchering his name, because I don't think I've heard him say it too many times, but I believe it's Saba. Saba.
Yeah, I think he just came out with something about it recently, didn't he?
Yes, right, yeah. Right. A friend actually had sent it to me, and I thought it was really beautiful. I got to go back and read that again, because there were a lot of key points in that. And he talks about, you know, coming up as like an independent artist, and how he's just like, my masters keep a roof over my head, over my team's head, you know? So even just having conversations around that, you know, even with labels and stuff like that, if that could be something I could see in the future, I would love that. Because I know a lot of us still want our freedom. We still want to be able to do what we want to do and work with the teams that we built, you know. But at the same time, I would love to see some money, I would love to see the money I'm worth behind that. You know, we put in all this work and all this effort for what? Look at all these other artists before us, like the Marvin Gayes, the Ella Fitzgeralds, the Lauryn Hills, and not even a penny, barely a penny to their name. How many Black artists like really owned their work? You know? So I think if we can have more conversations around that, and again, I got to educate myself too. You know, I'm still learning and growing, but I would love to have more conversations around that, and if that could be something to be worked out in the future, because we are out here, you know, hustling and grinding to come up with these songs, and we're spending our own money to come up with these songs, and then only for us to not really reap all the benefits, especially again if you're on certain distribution sites as opposed to using something like Bandcamp, which a lot of people are turning to now. It's just kind of, it's unfair. But yeah, I hope that's clear.
Yeah, no, very clear. Yeah, very, very clear, and I think it's a conversation that a lot of people have been having lately, and Kanye West did bring this up last year, and a lot of people really resonated with the comments he was making, and some may argue that they didn't agree with the way that he brought it up, but there's logic in just the concern that he had, and just now how more artists are more aware regarding wanting more ownership. It's been amazing talking to the both of you. I've had a lot of fun during this morning time in which we were recording this. So thank you both for for being awake and so energetic. I really appreciate it. If anybody wants to connect with either one of you, what's the best way? And Tracey, will begin with you.
You guys can follow me on Instagram or just email me. My Instagram is the same as my name. So my name is Tracey Kayy, TraceykAyy. And then at Gmail, so TraceyKaymusic@gmail.com. Or just hit me up on my socials, to be honest. I'll reply. You can slide in the DM, I'll reply, as long as it's about business.
Oh, there we go. Yeah, yeah. Definitely make that clear. Make that clear.
Set those boundaries, girl.
Nicole, what about you?
Same. So you can, again, hit me up in the email. So Nicole. I have a new email now. Wow, so many things. Okay, rewind. So hello@chamberssoul.com. And you can hit me up on the socials, though, at nicole.chambers and on all the platforms.
Amazing, amazing. Well, thank you both for joining us here on New Theory Radio. It was awesome to talk to the both of you, and best of luck as you continue on with your awesome careers. And we are going to take a quick commercial break here on New Theory Radio, and we'll be right back here on News Talk, Saga 960 AM.
You are listening to New Theory Radio.
The sun, it never hits our window. No shadows cast into the room. Face down, try to breathe into my pillow. For you, I fight this pending doom. Try to smile.
We are back here on New Theory Radio, here live on News Talk, Saga 960 AM. My name is Nav Nanwa, and I am your host, and this is the show where we theorize on arts and pop culture. People have been following the sounds of my next guest's crisp, round voice for years. From the mountains of BC to the coast of Tasmania, he's been able to bring his jovial personality to the stage while capturing audiences with his reverent, edgy sound. He just released his new track, Garden of Truth, which is being described as post-apocalyptic folk music, and he's our NTR Spotlight this week. I'm pleased to welcome Tennyson King to the show. Tennyson, thanks so much for making time for us here at NTR.
Hey, it's my pleasure. A pleasure to be here to talk with you.
Yeah, and we were just talking briefly before we started the interview. Like, I've seen your name pop around. I've heard your music before. You're definitely someone who's very much known and involved in the community. So it's great to have you on NTR to share your journey. And let's start all the way back. You're someone who has a very unique sound when it comes to what you bring to the table. So how did you get your start in music?
Yeah, well, I mean, I would say if we're going all the way back, the very first taste of music that I got as a young child was classical music. I was kind of brought up in a very, I guess you can say, stereotypical Chinese Canadian upbringing of being forced to learn classical piano. And I wasn't a huge fan of it at the time, to be honest, because it just felt like extra homework after school, I went through the motions, and I learned piano and I learned classical music, and I had to. The rule was that I had to do it until I was I reached a certain grade in the conservatory, and after that I could quit. And I reached that grade, and I quit piano, and I bought myself a guitar.
Nice.
And that was kind of probably early teens. And once I got a guitar, I just started kind of learning all the songs I was listening to on the radio. I was listening to a lot of kind of alt rock stuff that was on 102.1 The Edge, growing up. And that kind of just sparked a new passion for music for me. And I started just learning songs and singing them, and then slowly kind of writing my own songs. And then like playing in battle of the bands with my friends in high school and stuff like that around Mississauga. yeah, so that's kind of like how it started as I was a young teen. And then I kind of put music a bit on the back burner because I went to university and just, you know, did the post-secondary stuff and trying to discover myself. And after university, I did a bunch of traveling and working abroad, and I came back to Canada thinking that, okay, I want to give music a real go now. So I started, I went to music college at Seneca, the independent music program, and met a bunch of musicians there and kind of started a new journey of different bands. Like I've played in jazz bands, and I was a big part in a hip hop band called the Vibonics, which was like a hip hop mixed with rock and funk kind of thing.
Nice.
And and I toured with them for a while, and then just kept. And at that point, I had moved to Toronto to kind of like do the starving artist dream.
Well, yeah, which people normally do here, right? Like that seems to, like it's interesting how Toronto is the Canadian equivalent of, hey, I'm going to move to LA and try to make it. It's like, hey, I'll go to Toronto and try to do the exact same thing. Which again, there's no harm in that, considering, you know, where we've grown up and just the proximity of Toronto versus someone having to uproot their entire living and come over here.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that there's something to said about, I mean, starting new in a way, right? Like going somewhere where nobody knows you, even though Toronto and Mississauga are close. But at the time, like I didn't spend really any time in Toronto, right? I was in Mississauga, and I went to school, university in Hamilton, and then I left to go abroad. So when I went to Toronto, it was like a fresh start and meeting new people for the first time, and then diving straight into music. And that was my life in Toronto for a good 6 years. And then within those 6 years, things picked up a lot, and I was able to produce records for artists and play in bands. And then eventually I started doing my own music, which was pretty much just about four to 5 years ago when I started like my solo singer-songwriter stuff. And then from there, I honestly just started. I wrote a bunch of songs, recorded the first EP to start putting the feelers out, and then I just kind of started touring, and then it's been then that was like 4 years ago, and I just didn't stop until pandemic.
Yeah, I think everything stopped during the pandemic for everyone. Yeah. But that was one of the things I noticed when I'd heard about your music, and I even heard who you were as an artist, was you are someone that's well traveled, and it's very evident across your social feeds and even through the music that you put out, and just how different it sounds. And you know, just to kind of go back a little bit to your start, it almost feels like music was like a second life for you. Like you did the university thing, you traveled for a bit, and all of a sudden you come back here and a new life begins when it comes to going all in on music. Were you still doing music in between that time? Like, or was it a hard stop? And then when you came back here, you just decided, hey, you know, I want to pick it up again. And it was almost like teaching yourself how to ride a bike.
Yeah, I mean, I was definitely, like, during university and that in between period, I was playing music and still in love with music, but it was all for fun.
Yeah.
There was no, like, I didn't I did like a couple of university musicals, just singing and like dancing like a fool, and so it was always in me and a passion, and I would write stuff at home in the dorm and stuff, and just play to myself and play like an open mic here and there. But it was just it was just never a thing where I was like, oh, I'm gonna perform or I'm gonna do gigs. Like, I just wasn't in that headspace. But I always had like a piano and a guitar with me in every, like, where I traveled or at university and stuff. So I'd always be noodling and playing. But it wasn't until when I kind of came back to Canada is when I decided, like, okay, I'm going to really invest in it and figure out what it takes to kind of do music seriously and professionally, which is I feel like a whole different thing than just noodling around, right? It just hard work.
Yeah, it's so easy to be that guy with a guitar that plays Wonderwall all the time, right? Versus, you know what? Now I want to not play Wonderwall and play some of my own stuff.
Yeah, exactly. And not that there's anything wrong with that. Like if that's what people and musicians want to do, and just like music is so personal, and it's whatever the creator and the artist wants with it, right? Like there's no right or wrong. It's just however it kind of helps you the most. For me, like aside from taking it more seriously, music was just kind of it was my path, right? Like I was lost, and doing music was kind of what helped me figure out what I should do with my life and how to keep myself happy, and how I could understand the world and everything that I was seeing. So it was not just like making the decision of, okay, I'm going to try a career, but also this is kind of keeping me sane in a way.
Yeah, Tennyson, you talk about earlier about how when you picked up a guitar, you were playing songs that you would hear on Edge 102. You talk about how you used to play in a hip-hop, funk-infused band. I'm curious, who were some of your influences when you were coming up?
I mean, I feel like I've been through so many different genres of stuff. I mean, like you were saying, I grew up really on the 102, like a lot of alternative rock stuff, and also heavier things. Like I was obsessed with Metallica and Marilyn Manson and Pantera as a young kind of rebellious teen. And then I eventually I went a bit into the hip hop realm of like the old school stuff of NWA, and then even like the newer Eminem was huge as like as a teen for me growing up. So that all that kind of stuff was I loved, and then eventually I got into the older things like the Zeppelins and the Beatles and stuff. That was actually a bit later in my life because my parents didn't really listen to that stuff.
Yeah.
So as a younger person, I didn't hear that until I went away and went to university, and people started playing me, those different types of older music. And then so I was into that for a while. And then I don't know, the past few years I've been really digging chill. Like I'm a huge Jack Johnson fan, nice. Huge John Mayer fan. I love Bahamas. I don't know if you know him from Canada.
Yeah.
It's now it's kind of gone into a bit of like a folk thing, but also still a little bit of that, like bits and pieces of that alt rock and indie, and like the bits of hip hop kind of still in there. Not necessarily in the singing and the song styles, but maybe in the production style. Yeah.
But all that makes you uniquely who you are as an artist, right? Like versus you trying to follow the same path as a John Mayer or trying to recreate some of the classics like Zeppelin. I think it's pretty evident when you listen to some of your music how those pieces come to play in how you put together your songs. And we'll touch on Garden of Truth because when you had sent me information on the single, the fact that it's a post-apocalyptic folk song is something that we'll get into a little later. But I do want to touch on your life pre-pandemic because I'm assuming that your life during the pandemic is very similar to mine in regards to what your daily routines look like. But we can get into that a bit later. But your music has taken you all over the world, and I mentioned it during the intro. You've been to BC, you've been to Hong Kong, Australia. You're someone local here in the Peel region that's worked with a lot of different artists. How has all of this traveling played a role in your work in the work that you've been able to put together?
Yeah, well, I mean, traveling for me is huge in music. I feel like the last record I put out and the last two singles are, I'm just heavily influenced by nature. Yeah. So all nature and landscapes that I see when I travel, and the different ones that exist in the world. And also different cultures and different people. Like I personally love learning about that, about the different cultures in our world and how different people from different countries understand things differently, right? I guess I do a lot of writing when I'm on the road, but I don't necessarily write the songs. I get ideas of things that I see, and then I make voice memos of like a topic. And then later, when I sit down to do songwriting, I'll go through them and I'll pick topics and kind of transport myself mentally back into those moments, and then write about it. And I guess it's in a way how I nostalgically revisit those moments and keep reliving them. But like my last record, Coast, is I wrote that a lot of it during my first tour in Australia. And I'm a huge summer kind of beach surfing kind of dude, so I love that stuff. So a lot of the song and that whole album is very just road trip and beach vibes, and yeah. So and everyone, often people tell me that my music, they listen to it when they're road tripping or traveling, and that's perfect, because that's kind of, I guess, what I wanted to share with people, because that's a passion of mine. So yeah.
You know, the logical question I have coming out of that is obviously everyone's life has changed over the last year because of the coronavirus. How has the music changed for you?
Well, I guess, I mean, the obvious one is not being able to play to people. And I mean, aside from the streaming, that's been a major change, because like you're saying, I tour a lot. I mean, usually there was one year I was playing like easily like 200 something shows in a year.
Wow.
And I love connecting with people in the different cities and countries through the performance, because I mean, I've traveled as a backpacker going to places and meeting people in that way. But then when I meet people as a performer and I'm opening up and sharing my life and story with them, that connection with those people is unlike any other I've ever had. And that to me is like is kind of that high that I'm always chasing. It's like, how can I connect with people, like different people, even more and differently. So I mean, that's kind of obviously one major thing that has changed for me. But it's also just been adapting to writing and collaborating with people digitally, which that's been a great thing, because so many musicians who are usually on tour now have so much more time to collaborate and connect with people. And that's been great. I've been able to write and collaborate with people who I normally wouldn't be able to.
Amazing. And you were actually involved in the food bank. The Mississauga Food Bank track, right? That Mississauga Music had put together, which I know was
Yes.
quite the labor of love, and a star-studded cast of amazing artists all within Mississauga. So shout out to Mississauga Music and yourself for being.
No, that was super cool, and that's a perfect example. Like, I probably wouldn't have been able to do that because I would have been on the road during that time.
Yeah.
And the fact I was here and the Maybe May guys reached out and Matt and everyone, it was just super cool. Yeah,
it worked out. Towards the end of last year, you released your post-apocalyptic folk single, Garden of Truth. I got two questions for you. Tell me more about the track, but also tell me what post-apocalyptic folk means.
I just kind of made that up for when I...
It's catchy. It made me want to listen to the record, and I listened to it, and it's a great record.
Yeah, it's a folk tune, I figured, and the idea and the story of it is literally about a post-apocalypse. And I actually wrote the lyrics for that song within the first 3 months of the pandemic starting, because I thought it's a bit of like a comedic and lighthearted take on everything that's happening, but also the fact that, I mean, I don't know if you've noticed, but I feel like in the past 6 to 10 years, post-apocalyptic movies and pop and culture is kind of very in.
Yeah,
like,
it is.
So many zombie movies and like Walking Dead, and you know what I mean? Like, I just feel like people are really into that, and then it's kind of funny that we just had like a little mini apocalypse in a way with the pandemic. And then and we kind of freak out, even though we've been in a way so interested in that, in the idea of like something crazy happening. and then it did, and then we're all just in it now. So this, I mean, the song is just essentially two characters who are going through an apocalypse. Something happens, and then they journey together to find a new community and to build a new community with each other, which is just shedding light on what we've kind of been doing. I feel like everyone in our world has had to come together in some way to get through this. So yeah, so that's where I kind of got the post-apocalyptic folk idea from.
Tell me about the music video, because it is amazing. Like the work that's put into it, the visuals. I urge everybody, and we'll include a link in the podcast description for the show, and maybe even on our social feeds. Go check out this video, because it's amazing, and it's just, yeah, it really does the song justice. Tell me about how that came together.
Yeah, well, when I actually was writing the song, the entire time I was writing it, I was envisioning in my mind everything that was happening. Like the lyrics do tell like a story from the beginning to the end of something that could be like a TV show or a miniseries. So in my mind, I was already picturing this like cartoon story of two characters literally going through the motions of what the lyrics are saying. And I told a good friend of mine, Cesar Barbosa, who's a documentary filmmaker and TV film producer. He works between Canada and Brazil, nice. And he does a lot of my video and digital content stuff. And I told him my song idea, and I played it for him, and he loved it. And he just immediately started brainstorming ideas and characters and yeah, and it just happened really quickly. He I think a week later he sent me a storyboard idea, and then he pretty much he found a few artists, a few illustrators, sent me their work, and then we picked one of them, and then we got him to draw all the characters and all the scenes, and then he moved it into the animation studio, and then they just started working on it. So once I pretty much finished the song, I just sent it to them so they have the timeline, and then they just started building all the scenes. Mm-hmm. So it came together very naturally, and I think everyone, the whole team, all the editors and animators and designers were just on board with what the message was for the song. And it was probably one of the, in terms of music videos, it was one of the ones that just flowed. It just happened so naturally, which was super.
Do you think because of the pandemic, it was a lot easier to put something like that together? Or do you think it would have been the same situation if we weren't in the pandemic? Because I've noticed a lot of people have turned to animation and different types of visuals for their music, which some people have classified as being COVID proof, right? It's like, hey, if animators and visual creators are stuck at home, there's still an ability to collaborate to make really cool things happen, like the video for Garden of Truth.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I definitely, as an artist, not that I don't like being in my own music videos, but I love collaborating with other artists so that's always been a point of mine to try to do, is to give my music to another creator and see what they can create with their inspiration from the song. But I think definitely with the pandemic and COVID, everyone that was working on it was super eager and itching to create. And I think that probably helped the process and everything, because everyone was just like, oh, it feels so good to create something and to do something and put it out there, and something that has like a story. Again, like the story of the song is kind of about the pandemic in a way, like things that people were feeling already. So I would say it probably pushed it forward, pushed it along. Amazing.
Yeah, and we urge everybody to go check it out, The Garden of Truth, both the single and the video. You will truly be amazed. Tennyson, what do you have in store for the rest of 2021? Obviously, we're in February right now. There's still 10 months left. Is Garden of Truth maybe a little preview of a full-length album or something that we could see on the horizon this year? What do you have in store?
Yeah. Well, I actually just finished back in, I think, December, at the end, when was it? Sometime in December, I was finished recording my new record.
Nice.
So that's, right now it's just in post-production. It's just getting mixed and mastered. But so that recording is done, and I'm working with my team to figure out when the best time is to release it. It's a bit tough right now with everything going on, trying to make plans, not knowing if I'll be able to tour or not. Because ideally we'd want to release the record and then go on tour to promote it and play it for everyone. But we don't know if that's going to happen or not. So yeah, but definitely this year that record will come out. So the date is undetermined yet, but it'll happen, I'd say, somewhere maybe in 6 months or something like that is what we're kind of aiming for. Maybe sooner, hopefully sooner, because I want to share it with people, because I'm just kind of sitting on it.
It's like literally sitting on your computer and you just want to put it out.
Well,
hey, man.
It'll probably happen sooner than that, but I don't want to say sooner and then get in trouble. If it's
okay. Just give us the exclusive on New Theory Radio, man. Just do it. Hey, Tennyson, it's been a blast chatting with you. Congrats on Garden of Truth, the single, as well as the awesome music video. And hey, we're looking forward to the album. I think it's great. I think the one thing that the pandemic has shown us is, regardless of what's happening in the world, we're getting awesome music because of it. And I know with your upcoming release that will continue. So keep up the awesome work. And whenever you'd like to come back to NTR, the platform is always yours. If anybody wants to connect with you or wants to know how they can check out what you're doing or even your music, what's the best way?
Yeah, social media. Hit me up on Instagram. Instagram and Facebook are where I'm at the most, at Tennyson King. Since the pandemic, I've actually just been making lots of kind of little funny videos and stuff to kind of entertain my fans and myself to keep creating. So yeah, definitely come message me on Instagram and check out what I'm posting and stay connected that way.
Amazing. That's Tennyson King. Go check him out across all social platforms as well as streaming platforms. His new track, Garden of Truth, is out now. And this concludes this week's edition of New Theory Radio. So I wanted to thank Nicole Chambers, Tracey Kayy, and Tennyson King for joining me on this week's episode. If you want to connect with New Theory Radio on social media, it is at New Theory Radio across all platforms. If you want to connect with me on social media, it is at Nav Nanwa on Twitter and Instagram. Big thanks to my little brother, Amit Nanwa. He is the man behind all of our videos on social media. You can send him a follow at colorblindphotography_ on Instagram. And big thank you to Dusty Loops, the producer behind our theme song. You can follow him on social media at Dusty Loops. This concludes this week's edition. Thank you so much for tuning in, and you will hear all of us next time. Peace.
When you're sick, every minute counts. So don't go anywhere. Go to dispatchhealth.com, where high-quality medical care comes directly to you. No getting out of a sick bed. No crazy driving to an emergency room. No endless paperwork. No hospital waiting rooms. Visit dispatchhealth.com to learn about our medical professionals, then make house calls. Dispatch Health is covered by Medicare and most major insurance. Go to dispatchhealth.com.
This week at Macy's, discover big savings on fashion and home essentials. Keep warm and stay on trend with specials on coats for him and her, 60 to 65% off. Get 25% off women's shoes for any weather. And refresh your space with select Charter Club bedding and bath collections, now 50% off. Plus, Macy's Star Rewards members earn on every purchase except gift cards, services, and fees. More at macys.com/star rewards. Savings off sale and clearance prices, exclusions apply.